I'm just not good at interviews. I look good on paper, and when I get invited to the interview, somehow when they meet me face to face, it just doesn't match up. I can't do the interview well. I don't think that I can communicate my value as well as I need to. How many of you have thought of those things when it comes to interviewing for the position of your dreams, for the company of your dreams, that somehow it seems that even though you are successful at getting invited to the interviews, that you are being invited to interviews, being headhunted by recruiters, but somehow when it comes to that interview and there's that face-to-face interaction, whether or not it's in person or virtual face-to-face, that somehow the words just don't come out. You know your stuff, you're an expert in your industry, but somehow in that interview, it just doesn't come across the way that you know it should come across. Well, if that's you and you struggle with any of those things that I just mentioned, this is the video for you. In this video, what I want to share with you are three very key, profound, proven things that you can implement in the interview process so that you can be effective at any job interview that you choose to be on. And also how you can interview effectively so that you beat out your competition. All right, so I want to hear from you. If this is you right now and you're interviewing for the job, comment below. I want to hear from you. What is your industry? And what is your biggest challenge when it comes to the interview process? I want to hear from you, so comment below. And as well, if you haven't done so already, subscribe to my channel because I release new videos like this every single week, and I look forward to serving you with my insightful content. Number one is to stop trying to impress them and start being fully authentic. What do I mean by that? You see, the biggest mistake that interviewees make is they try to impress their interviewer. Whether the interviewer is the recruiter, the headhunter, it could be the team leader, the direct manager, supervisor, or maybe even the employer, him or herself. Right? The first thing we try to do is impress them. And when we try to impress them, necessarily what we're going to do is to give out all our credentials, all of our certifications, our degrees, our achievements, all of those things. We lay them out there. And the problem is when you focus on the credentials, what ends up happening is that you sound like and look like everybody else. Because what you're trying to do is beat the competition, right? But you can't beat the competition at their game, because when it comes to spilling out your credentials, telling them the order in which you have achieved things, and also telling them all the degrees you've had, how you've been top of your class, and so on, and things like that in that arena, what happens is that you're not beating out the competition. You're literally saying what everybody else does. And when you say what everybody else does, all of a sudden you are in the masses, which means you have a tremendous amount of competition. Because the thing is, if you're trying to compete on credentials and compete on impressing them, that is a game that's very difficult to win. So instead of doing that, this is about being fully authentic. Because chances are, when you're in a job interview, it feels like you have to impress them. But at the same time, it's very difficult to impress them. Haven't you ever noticed that? When you try to impress somebody that has a genuine influence on your professional career, it's very hard. Because on one hand, we want to be humble. We don't want to brag. We don't want to be that person who is braggadocious. And so that creates a cognitive dissonance, and it prevents us from being able to try to impress another person. The other thing is that when you try to impress other people, you will necessarily need to try to find a way to put yourself above others. Because that's the only way in which you can be impressive when you try to impress another person, is that you need to put yourself above and you need to put somebody else below. That in itself creates a cognitive dissonance, especially if you try and you desire to be humble. And the other thing about trying to impress somebody is that impressing somebody based on credentials will put you in the competition of the masses instead. So instead of trying to impress, if you start to be fully authentic, this is sharing who you are as an individual. This is sharing from a place of vulnerability. What makes you tick? Why are you applying for this position? Why are you in this industry? How did you get here? It could be specific challenges that you've had in your personal life that later on reflected in your career choices. It could be some of the things that were in your career path by happenstance that you thought you were going in one direction, but somehow life led you in a different way and you found greater meaning towards that. What is that story? What is the thing that makes you uniquely you? And here's the thing, credentials don't make you unique. Because of all the people, say you have an MBA, say you have a PhD, right? How many others that are applying have similar credentials, have similar educational levels? So it's hard to compete in that grounds. It's hard to play at that game. And that's why it's difficult to impress. Many reasons I've given you why it's hard to impress somebody. But here's the thing. Instead of doing that, when you are authentic, you are sharing what makes you unique. And you are unique. Because if you think about it, nobody else in this world has done exactly what you have done in the order in which you've done it. So it's time that you take ownership of that path and all of not just your education, but your personal experiences as well. Your knowledge, your expertise, your experiences as well that make you unique. And so when you are authentically you, this is, hey, I got nothing to hide. This is who I am. And this is how my experiences have shaped me to take on this career path. And that's exactly why I'm passionate about joining your team. Right? So that makes you unique. And that uniqueness is what they're going for. Because let's face it, even if your credentials were a little bit lacking, and maybe there was a certain skill set that you weren't an exact world-class expert on, that could be trained. It is actually harder and it takes more investment capital for a company or for a manager to train the right cultural fit. And that's really what makes it work. So if you share, rather than sharing your credentials and trying to compete on that grounds, you share from authenticity what makes you unique, and you yourself also must be clear about what makes you unique, then that is step number one. Stop trying to impress. Instead, be fully, authentically present. Number two, stop recounting your chronological achievements and instead start selling the value that you have to bring in alignment with their goals. Right? The number two biggest mistake that interviewees make is in an interview, they just start to recount everything that they've done, right? In chronological order, just like in a resume. And it could be, right? They could be paraphrasing what they already shared in their resume, or they could be summarizing everything, their entire history of work experiences, or they take their current work experience and they just shared in chronological order everything that they did for that company. So it's a chronological recounting of what they've achieved. And that's the second biggest mistake that interviewees make. Because here's the thing. We do that. Why do we do that? We recount these things because we're hoping that they're going to connect the dots of why we're so valuable. But here's the thing. Nobody's going to connect the dots for you. Nobody likes us well enough. Nobody's going to do that for you. Nobody's going to take that time to look at your achievements that you've recounted to them so clearly and connect the dots about why you're valuable to their team, about why you can do the job, about why they should hire you. They're not going to take that extra step to connect the dots. You must connect the dots for them. And recounting your achievements isn't going to make you sound unique or different because they already have your resume. They can glean from your resume what you have done and what your major achievements are, because you must be including them in your resume for them to feel like inviting you to the job interview in the first place. So rather than telling them what they can already glean from the resume, instead, what you want to do is sell them your value in alignment with their goals. When you are competing for a job posting, when you're competing for a position in that company, they have meaningful goals that they want to achieve. Even the interviewer that you're talking to, it could be a recruiter, it could be the hiring manager, it could be internal or external, but that person who's interviewing you at every round of the interview, they have personal goals. And these goals are very meaningful to them because that's what they want to achieve in their own career paths or their own team, their own companies. So that's why it's important to know what their goals are. And you can glean these goals on some intel that you can collect and based on your research as well. So this is about, now that you know what their goals are, you got to sell the value that you have to bring. Your value is your offering. It's a combination of your education, your skills, and your uniqueness, like I mentioned in point number one. Sell them the value you have to bring. You sell by showing, by illustrating, not just by telling. And when you sell the value of what you have to bring, it means you must articulate your true value and articulate it in such a way that's so effective that they will gladly exchange and hire you and bring you a member of your team because they desire the value that you have just revealed to them. Right, so if you're listening to this, you're absolutely right. This is a sales conversation. The interview that you're having is a sales conversation. Even if you're not applying to a sales job, this is a sales conversation. Sales conversation means you must effectively persuade them that I am the right choice for this position because the value I have to bring will be in alignment with what your most meaningful goals are. And here's the value that I can reveal to you in this conversation. So if you're listening to this and you're wondering, well, how do I do that specifically for my situation? Okay, I understand the concept. I know what you're telling me, Dr. Grace, but how do I take this specifically to my situation? How do I communicate my value? Because the resume should speak for itself, shouldn't it? No. Your job on the interview is to communicate the value. The resume is there as a marketing document. The interview, the conversation itself, is where you communicate your value. So if you're serious about understanding and knowing for yourself, how do I do this for me? How do I do this in my specific industry for my specific combination of experiences? And you're serious about this, and you understand that you want to have help in developing this skill set for interviews and conversations like this, then I invite you to book a call with me. In the video, in the description below this video, there is a link, a call booking link, and that's where you can apply for my coaching program. And just because you apply doesn't mean that you qualify. This application is to see whether or not it's going to be the right fit to work with me and for me to help you with exactly what you are looking for. And by the way, this is for you if you're serious about developing this skill, communicating your value in an interview, being able to land the position of your dreams, the next level in your career. This is not for you, by the way, if you are a beginner in your career path. If you're trying to get the first job after a graduation, this is not for you. It's for you if you are an established career professional, wanting to take your career to the next level, or maybe you want to transition to a new industry, then this is for you. Right? So if you're serious about this, only if you're serious, then click the link below. And I look forward to having our first conversation. Number 3 is to stop trying to tell them what you think they want to hear and start handling their objections. Right? The number 3 biggest mistake that career interviewees make is they try to script out their answers to common interview questions. Right? Comment below if this is you. Right? When you have a job interview, the first thing that most interviewees do is they go on the internet and they Google things like how to pass an interview, common interview questions. They print out this big list and then they write a script in answering these common interview questions, and they try to memorize that script, right? They try to choose the exact word, the correct word. They try to sound great, educated, intelligent, confident. They're trying to say all the right things. And then the interview comes, they're sitting in front of them, and one of 2 things happen. Number 1, it could be that they ask questions that aren't even on that common interview question list. And now, I don't know what to do, I don't know what to say. Or the second thing is, they ask an interview question that is on that list of common interview questions, and they're in that interview, and all of a sudden you just totally forgot. Your mind goes blank. You forgot what you wrote on the script, and now either way the effect is still the same: a blank mind, not knowing what to say, and fumbling through the answer. The key is not to try to focus on what you think they want to hear, because the thing is, if you try to concentrate, you can't be present. It's hard to be present and listen to exactly what they're asking you and why they're thinking behind that question if you're constantly on that interview, every single question, trying to give you the answer, trying to give the answer that you think they want to hear. Because sometimes, wouldn't you agree, that people don't need to hear the answer that you think they want to hear, but they need to hear the answer that they need to hear. And that's what shows your leadership. Right? Being an effective leader in your industry doesn't mean that you're going to give them all the right answers. You're going to give them and be a yes person, let them talk to them and let them hear only what they want to hear. It is also about going against the status quo. It's also about challenging to improve. It's also about giving perspectives that maybe they may disagree with in the beginning, but you're able to effectively demonstrate why that is the direction to go. Right? So you got to start that persona at the interview stage. So instead of trying to give them the answer they want to hear, start to handle objections. What do I mean by that? What do I mean by objections? You see, for every interviewee that they turn down, the reason why they turned down those interviewees is because they had objections about hiring that person, or objections about moving them on to the next round of interviews. So if you will, instead of trying to craft the perfect answer to what they want to hear, instead, spend your time preparing for the interview and being able to handle potential objections they might have to hiring you. And that will make your interview much more effective. And you can be at ease because you will be fully present, hearing exactly the question that they are asking you. Right, so I hope this was helpful, and I look forward to hanging out with you again in the next video.